Hi, this is Shane, the host of Shane Plays Radio, which is the live radio show that I enjoy doing, Geek Talk Radio, that also goes out as the podcast that you're listening to right now. Just wanted to say this week's episode, I was broadcasting live from a comic expo in downtown Little Rock, which means I wasn't at the station in the studio. I was using remote equipment. And as a result of that, there are times where my voice on the show kind of cracks or has kind of an odd audio sound at the top end when I'm talking. You could still listen to the show. It's totally listenable. The guests are interesting. There's plenty of comic news and general geekery and guest. However, I wanted to say, this is not the normal audio quality of the show. So if you're a first-time listener, or if you've listened before and say, hey, what's going on? That's what happened. But like I said, it's still totally listenable, and I hope you enjoy the show very much. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it.
Shall we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Welcome. Live from Little Rock and live from the River City Comic Expo. It's Shane Plays Radio. This is Geek Talk Radio, a journey into the things that you love. Joined, going to be off and on joined today. We got a few guests coming by, but I'm joined by Bill Brackeen. I've been trying to get him on the show. He's a buddy, and he's also a radio veteran. Say hi, Bill.
Hello.
So I want y'all to hear Bill's voice because he will be a co-host / guest host at different times for Shane Plays. There may be times where he will actually be running the show, so make sure to get familiar with Bill. Now, going to real quick do a few housekeeping notes, and then we are going to take a break and then come back and talk about the Comic Expo and also just have some guests in the comic industry and that sort of thing. Now, if you're in the Little Rock area, Central Arkansas area, this is going on today, right now, in Little Rock at the State House Convention Center. It is taking up 2 ballrooms. There's cosplay, there's panels, there's vendors, all the comic book vendors you can need. You got Gail Simone is here, Michael Golden. Who else we got here, Bill? I mean,
Renee Witterstead is here.
Yeah, and she's going to be on the show later. I got Randy Duncan is looking at me right now. We're going to get him on here in a few minutes. And he's a professor who also wrote a book called The Power of Comics. But there's a lot of people here, and it's both a vendors but also special guests and that sort of thing. So if you're in the Little Rock area and you're geeky at all, or if you're
young or old,
young or old, come on down. It's only $5 to get in, and it really is pretty big. The remark that I'm hearing from everybody, Bill, is it's big.
Yes. I was surprised at how large it is.
It is definitely bigger than you would think. And for family friendliness, it's sometimes pop culture events may or may not be family friendly.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of cosplay, and I haven't really seen anything that I was like, that doesn't.
Nobody dressed inappropriate.
Right. Yeah. So it's pretty clean. So don't worry about that. Come on down. Meanwhile, we'll get on with the show notes here. Don't forget, this is live radio, or if you're listening on, if you're listening to 96.5 FM, The Voice, or not The Voice, pardon me, The Answer, you can listen on the radio. Appreciate it. Also, you can listen at 96.5fmtheanswer.com. This show will go out as a podcast either tonight or tomorrow. I put that on my blog at shaneplays.com. And it also goes out on Stitcher and iTunes and all those things. And also, starting next week, this is very exciting, I've got a new affiliate. I'm pleased to be partnered up with Krypton Radio, kryptonradio.com. It's a complete science fiction / nerd / geek online 24/7 radio station. KryptonRadio.com is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, Bill. Sci-fi for your Wi-Fi, Bill. It's good stuff. You know what Filk is? Do you know what?
Yes,
okay.
I know what Filk is.
It's some of the Filk. It's shows. It's old radio serials.
Now, the audience may not know what Filk.
Well,
is.
Filk, of course, is basically nerd geek songs, parody songs, and
parody or original
stuff. And it's there's some really good stuff on there. So. Don't forget, starting next week. Now, I'm still going to be on 96.5, and I'm still going to be on a podcast, but we will also be on Krypton Radio starting next Saturday, I do believe. So, and it's going to be pre-recorded for the time being, but we are working on getting it live.
All right.
So people all over the internet can also access us live in addition to the stream that we're already doing. So, trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention. Hey, you know what? Tell you what, let's get a couple of news items in, and then we'll hit a break, and then we've got some guests we're going to bring on. So, Kendall, do we have a live mic there for in the newsroom for the Shane Plays news staff? We got that. Oh, they're working hard on a Saturday, Bill. And they don't ask for any extra money. I don't get that.
Okay.
So anyway, so we're going to do a couple of news items from the comic book world. And then during the show, I'm going to be sharing figures. And I shared this one figure with you. I'm not going to share yet, Bill. But by the end of the show, I'm going to share in 2014 what the entire U.S. comic industry sales were. And when I shared that number with you, were you surprised?
I was a bit.
Okay, so I'll be sharing that before the end of the show. But I got a couple of news items here, comic book related. One is DC Comics, Bill, is down over $2 million on their planned revenue versus expenditure for 2014-2015.
Yeah, so somebody's going through the couch cushions pretty furiously.
Yeah, pretty furiously. And the ramification. Now, one thing, Bill, which it just feels wrong to me, they moved to California, which it just feels wrong for me to DC not to be in New York, but that's their choice.
Yeah.
But, they've been they've really been getting kind of creative, and they just do the I think they call it DCU, where they relaunch a lot of their books with new creative sort of angles, because Batgirl was a big success, and it had a new creative feel to it, and Harley Quinn was a success. But so they basically Batgirled their entire line, right? I mean, Superman, Batman, everything's gone through big changes. Well, now the DC editors are saying stop Batgirling and go back to meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
So when they're like halfway through, now it's do a U-turn and come back. So
well, I mean, they do this sort of thing at the major comic book company so often. Right. I mean, they'll revamp the whole line. Everybody will be changed up. Superman will be dead. And you have to do that occasionally because people get bored with the same old, same old. But then when you do that, people who aren't even reading the books get mad because you're not doing the same old, same old. Well,
it's like people don't want the same old. But and here's a quote here. This was from BleedingCool.com. They said the lesson learned is you cannot calculate manufacture surprise hit books. Yeah. Said the reasons books like Batgirl or Harley Quinn hit, or Miss Marvel and Hawkeye hit, is because they're doing something that the rest of the line wasn't doing. Marvel aren't trying to make every book into Miss Marvel. Not yet, anyway. The audience, it seems, doesn't want the bulk of the titles like that. It's the fact that there's only one or two that make them special. And then we may or may not agree with this, but Bleeding Cool said comic book audiences are a lot more conservative than some people give them credit for. Yeah. So, I don't know. The other news item, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but for the Captain America movie, Civil War, there's some promo art that kind of shows how the teams are shaping up on Team Iron Man, Team Captain America. I'm going to let people go look that up in case they don't want spoilers. But I will say there's a couple that make sense. Like War Machine is obviously with
Team
Iron Man, and then Winter Soldier is with Captain America. So, but people can go look up there, and there were a couple that surprised me. So. I was like, that was surprising.
The Winter Soldier is in attendance today.
Yeah, I've seen the Winter Soldier. I've seen Captain America. I've seen a couple of alternate universe Captain Americas that are quite different from each other. There's a Harley Quinn walking by with a hammer that's even bigger than she is, so she got that right. Yeah. And here comes Marty McFly, who's out of time with his skateboard. So there's a lot of great cosplay. Yeah. We're going to cut to a break. Kendall, let's go ahead and go to a break. And when we get back, we're going to be talking with Michael Tierney, who is a local comic book store owner and a sponsor of Shane Plays, but he also publishes a comic book series called The Wild Stars, and we'll also be talking with Randy Duncan, who's a professor but wrote a book called The Power of Comics. Kendall, let's go ahead and hit that break, buddy.
Megawars.net. The classic online space strategy game has returned, bigger and better than ever before. Scout the universe and claim your empire. Construct, customize, and launch dozens of different starships. Battle thousands of opponents online in a team-based competition leading to the ultimate battle of the galaxies. Grab your slot today in one of the most hotly anticipated indie games of 2015. Visit megawars.net and get options only available during our pre-sale event running now. Megawars.net.
comic book lovers, Michael Tierney's local comic book stores meet all of your comic book needs with friendly service. Visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock or Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock. And don't forget to click on over to the wildstars.com website. I personally have been a customer of Michael's since the mid-'80s, and I trust him for my reserve list still today. Michael knows comics. In addition to being in business for 34 years, he has written multiple columns for comic magazines, is an Overstreet price guide advisor, and publishes his own comic book series, The Wild Stars. Trust me, these stores are run by a comic book lover for comic book lovers. Remember, for all of your comic book needs with friendly service and to get your copies of The Wild Stars, make sure to visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock or Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock, and visit thewildstars.com to learn more. Privately owned and licensed by the Arkansas State Police, Rock City Alarm Company has been in business since 1996, specializing in sales, installation, servicing, and monitoring of burglar alarms and fire alarms for the state of Arkansas. Rock City Alarm provides service for residential and commercial alarms, and now provides cellular monitoring with remote arm and disarm. Just call John Hardiman at 501-541-8747. That's John Hardiman at 501-541-8747.
JLM Tree Servicing can take care of your tree servicing needs. Contact them at 501-351-7714, online at jlmservicing.com, and on Facebook. Do you have limbs touching the roof or killing your grass with too much shade? Leaves collecting in the pool or gutters? Need to remove that unsightly dead tree? JLM Servicing is insured, provides free estimates, serves all of Central Arkansas, and doesn't collect payment until job well done. JLM Tree Servicing, 501-351-7714. Find them online at jlmservicing.com or on Facebook.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Radio. Shane Plays Radio is a journey into the things we love. We are live from the River City Comic Expo here in downtown Little Rock. It's packed. Lots of vendors, and we also have artists and comic book industry veterans, including somebody we're about to talk to named Michael Tierney. But before that, what we're going to be doing during the show is I'm going to be giving out some statistics on comic book sales figures. And before the end of the show, I'll share what the entire industry in the United States was worth in 2014. But the highest orders, Michael, for a comic book in a single month ever from 1997, according to Comic Chron, COMICHRON.com, like Comic Chronicles, and you know the guy who runs this site, evidently.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, is the highest, and this was actually recently from 1997 to present, was 985,976 copies, and that was Star Wars #1 from just a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that was all the variants too, though. But that was almost a million. Was the highest ever from 1997.
Oh yeah, and it wasn't just a book that retailers got stuck on. That was sell-through.
Did it
those
sell?
things sold, and that's why. And they've done printing after printing since then.
Right.
Now, one thing they did do to get it up to that high number, they did like 100 variants on.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot of variants, but I mean, it's selling well.
Oh yeah.
And I've been collecting
Sold
it. It's pretty good. I mean, it's good. So anyway, okay. So let's, just for the interest of time, and I've got other people that we're going to be talking to as well. You are. I've done business personally with you through Collector's Edition, and you also have the comic book store on Treasure Hill over in Little Rock. Collector's Edition is in North Little Rock. The first time I ever went to a comic book store was the Collector's Edition when you were on MacArthur, and I was in 7th grade, and this kid told me about this thing called a comic book store, and I was like, "What?" I mean, at that point I was buying everything off a spinner rack, right, at the convenience store,
That's
right?
the way you used to.
Yeah, that's how you did it. And this concept of a comic book store. So I talked my mom into taking me to collect, and I remember you being in there, and because you've worked your stores.
Oh yeah.
So you don't, since I've known you. So I just want to, people go to collect. If you're listening in Central Arkansas, now a lot of people listen to this show online or by podcast, but I also know a lot of people listen locally. And if you're in Central Arkansas, you hear Michael's ads on this show every week, but you can go to Collector's Edition on JFK in North Little Rock, or the comic book store on Treasure Hill, in the Treasure Hill Shopping Center, right?
Right, that's
in
my
Little
second
Rock.
location.
Okay, so now let's talk about just a few minutes. A lot of people probably don't know that you're also a comic industry veteran. You write articles. You contribute to the Overstreet Price Guide. I mean, you're in the comic industry, but you also have your own. Tell us about the Wild Stars.
All right. Now, as you said, I'm a comic book retailer. I've been doing that since '82. I've been an independent publisher since '77. And Wild Stars are based on a series of novels I wrote back in the '70s.
Okay.
And I started publishing them as a comic book in '84.
So, and people can go to learn about your stores and the Wild Stars, then go to wildstars.com.
Yeah, you've got to The Wild Stars.
The Wild Stars.
WILDSTARS.com.
TheWildStars.com. Now, the Wild Stars is, I've read them over there. I can remember being a kid and buying the Wild Stars, and then there's still new Wild Stars stuff still coming out.
Oh, yeah. With a new graphic novel last year.
Right. It's even back in the day, before people were experimenting a lot outside of superhero comics, you were doing it's a science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it interacts with real people on Earth.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the artists for me, of course, now he was drawing this back in the, about 15 years ago. He described it as, Dallas meets Star Wars.
Dallas meets Star Wars. Okay. Well, and the art's great. You've had some knockout covers.
Oh, yeah. I hired a fellow by the name of Frank Bruner.
Yeah.
He's been a top-notch industry veteran since the 70s.
Yeah, and you have no plans on slowing down on the Wild Stars, right?
Lots of plans.
You still got a lot of stories.
I'm working on the next one already.
Okay, so if people want to copy the Wild Stars, of course, they can, if they're local, they can get them at your stores. Are they available through Amazon or anything like that?
Available through Amazon. Actually, they're available worldwide.
Are they? Okay, so the Wild Stars.
Yeah.
Or you can go to thewildstars.com. Mm-hmm. So do you have any other comic-related projects that you're interested in doing?
Well, actually, I am working on a project right now. It's in front of 4 publishers. I'm hoping one of them bites on it. I'm talking about doing a 3-book deal in connection with Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. to do a history of everything ever done by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who did Tarzan.
Oh, wow.
Every cover, every published over the last 100 years.
Wow. Okay, so you're talking about like a book of covers?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd actually be a 3-book deal. It'd be a book on the pulps. That goes back 100 years.
Right.
All the books and paperbacks ever done, and also all the comics, because he was there at the very start of the comics. The first adventure strip in the newspaper was the Tarzan strip.
But it's all Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yeah, it'd be all his stuff, yeah.
Well, he's well-known and influential on so much of the entertainment we have today. Now, it's not Edgar Rice Burroughs, but I've been reading the original Robert E. Howard Conan stories lately, and those are really good. So, and I noticed when I go to the collector's edition, you have a shelf that has a lot of those old pulps for sale, like collector's copies and stuff like that.
And we do have some first editions of the original Conan stories, first time they were published in hardcover.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, and this is another thing people don't know. You invented, Michael, the trade paperback before anybody else did. Now tell us about that.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy things. When you open up a store, you want to try to do something nobody else is doing.
Right.
And you could not get a collection of the stories. You had to buy the individual comics. So I was taking runs of comics and binding them together.
I bought the Crisis on Infinite Earths that you did.
That was a great package.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to make sure I wasn't breaking any laws. So I went to a trade show, met with both the representatives from Marvel and DC. Said, okay, am I breaking any laws? You guys have any problem with this? They said, hey, we don't care how you repackage, just sell it in your store. And I said, okay, now the next question is, why aren't you guys doing this?
Right.
And they both told me flat out, they'll never
sell. And now it's like a huge part of the market.
Oh, yeah, it's one of the fastest growing parts
Huge part of the market.
It took them a few years to try it.
But they finally did. Well, oftentimes pioneers don't get credit, Michael. So
thank you.
All right, well, I want to get Randy Duncan on, who wrote The Power of the Comics. Is there anything else? I mean, feel free. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Oh, well, come on down to the show. It's a great show. Lots of people having fun. And if you after the show's over, if you want to find out comics, hardcovers, paperbacks, the old comics, we have a huge selection, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I'm going to come by your booth. I haven't had a chance, but there's a lot of stuff in there I want to check out. I just want to tell you, Michael. I've part of comic books and geek culture is about communities and. I consider you a part of my geek DNA, right? Because, first comic book shop, I've shopped with you forever. Hey, Michael, hey, Shane. So just thanks for coming by. I'm shaking your hand. People can't see that. Looking forward to more Wild Stars. And I want to have you on in the future. We'll talk about just the Wild Stars.
I'd love to come on, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
all right. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I hope you have a good day today at the River City Comic Expo.
Take care.
And up next is Randy Duncan. Yeah. All right, we got Randy Duncan coming, and I see Stuart Berryhill's floating around. He is a inker on the Man of God and Winter War and some other things. But right now we've got Randy Duncan. Randy, now just real quick, we're going to have you on for a full show. In fact, we're talking about having you on in November.
Right.
But just real quick, I want to introduce you to people.
Okay.
Tell them you're coming up on the show. You are a professor. You're actually like a PhD.
Right.
Right.
Did a dissertation on comics.
You did it. So you teach comics. It's at Henderson here.
Henderson State University.
Okay, but you also have a book called The Power of Comics.
I do. And that's one of the textbooks we use at Henderson, and they
use it
lots
as a
of
textbook.
other places.
Okay.
Right. It's
Yeah.
It's a general book for anyone who wants to know the history of comics, how the form works, how they're a part of our culture. But it's designed to be a textbook.
Okay.
With discussion questions.
Yeah, I've flipped through it, and I'm looking. I'm reading through it before you come on, but I haven't. I've looked through it, and you have it split into 3 sections, right?
Right.
And what are those 3 sections again?
History.
Yep.
And form and culture.
History, form, and culture.
We got some help on the history section this time in the second edition from Paul Levitz, who been involved in comics since he was 17, and then became president and publisher of DC. And
isn't your forward by like Mark Wade or something?
It
like
is,
that?
yes.
Yeah. So Paul Levitz has a section in there, and then if people know comics, that's big. Mark Wade wrote your forward. So this is, what I'm trying to get across to people, this is a heavy hitting book, and it's not just about gee whiz, aren't comic books neat? It really goes in to what comics are about.
It does. And it's a doorway into even more serious literature that's out there in the academic journals, because we now have more and more academic journals devoted to comics, more and more academic conferences.
Right.
And I know some of that stuff is kind of boring and jargon heavy.
Yeah.
But we try to explain it in simple ways and say, if you want to know more, here's this article or this book you should read on that.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to have to go to a break here in a second, Randy. Okay. Thanks for coming by. People, The Power, you can find this book on Amazon and all that, right? Yeah, it's a So The Power of Comics. If you don't, in fact, I'm going to go so far as to say, if you're a comic book lover and you've heard about this book now and you don't go read it, you're not a serious comic book lover.
I gotta say,
I'm throwing the gauntlet
true.
down.
That's true. And I'm at table 405, so if anyone wants to come leaf through
and
look at it.
Come see Randy today. And we will have him on the show soon. Randy, thanks so much for coming by. And I've got some other people floating around that we're going to have talk on the air very soon. Before that, I'm going to do an ad for a new sponsor, and then we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to have more exciting comic book news and guests from the River City Comic Expo here in downtown Little Rock. I see the 501st Legion floating around. We're up from there. I've got Stuart Berryhill floating around. We're going to have Michael Golden's representative is going to be on later. Renee Witterstatter, who has her own pretty serious comic book credentials and career in her own right. She'll be on about 1:45. But we have a new sponsor. I'm so glad to have them. They are Game Goblins in Little Rock. So let me tell you about Game Goblins. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has game events every day of the week.
It's huge.
They just had their grand reopening last week, Bill, and it looks great. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Sounds like Bill might be recommending them too.
Oh yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, so make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers, listen up. First-time customers, mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. What are you waiting for? Get your game on and head on over to Game Goblins at the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock. Now, tell them Shane Plays sent you. Real quick, Bill, which statistic do you want to share from here? We're going to share a statistic on comic book sales And then we are going to cut to a break, and when we get back, we're going to have more guests and information from the River City Comic Expo.
All right.
What do you think, Bill?
Let's see. Well, were you aware that the highest dollar volume for top 300 trade paperbacks, that's collected
edition, yep,
of stories, ordered in a single month was $10.51 million.
Million with an M, and I'm kind of putting my pinky to my mouth like Dr. Evil. 10.51 million. That was December 2013. And another interesting statistic, the most comic books in the top 300 comics list by publisher from 1997 to now is DC Comics with 129. So that means in the top 300 from 1997 till now, DC Comics has had the most in the top three. Even though Marvel
sells more volume.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got, looks like Stuart Berryhill floating around. We're going to have more Bill Brackeen. Got the 501st Legion, which is a local Star Wars. I don't know if they refer to themselves as cosplay, but they do the excellent stormtroopers and that sort of thing. Kendall, take us to a break, and when we come back, we'll have more Shane Plays live from the River City Comic Expo in downtown Little Rock.
Did you know that your business can provide its employees with the same benefits packages as even the largest Fortune 500 companies, often at no direct cost to you, the business owner, and while saving money at the same time? If you've always thought that you would like to offer those big company benefits to your employees but thought that there was no way, let our team at the Make 'em Teague Agency come by and show you how it can be possible and how simple it is to put into place. We offer major medical and group and individual plans, on-or-off exchange, dental and vision, life products, cancer, accident, and more. These benefits create that ever so priceless commodity known as loyalty. And yes, we are ACA certified. We even offer these same benefits on the individual basis if you're just a one-person entrepreneur or making things happen on your own. Give us a call today at 501-838-6827 to schedule your no-obligation on-site consultation. The Make 'em Teague Agency is serving all of Arkansas and surrounding states. 501-838-6827. Give us 1% of your trust, and we'll earn the other 99. In business for over 15 years, the Hillcrest Doghouse provides full grooming, bathing, boarding, and daycare services for just about all breeds with knowledgeable and friendly staff, including a licensed groomer with over 10 years experience. The Hillcrest Doghouse uses all natural shampoos, including a pesticide-free flea shampoo. All kennels are situated where we work, which means your companion is rarely left alone, providing the benefit of full interaction with our friendly staff. Additionally, we walk your dog at least 3 times a day to ensure a happy day. Grooming and boarding packages are also available at great prices. The Hillcrest Doghouse is located at 3924 West Markham Street in Little Rock. Call the Hillcrest Doghouse at 501-296-9800. That's 501-296-9800. We're also on Facebook. Find us and like us.
No matter what the weather is outside, let Chapman Service take care of your comfort inside. See your participating independent Trane dealer or visit Trane.com for complete program eligibility, dates, details, and restrictions. Chapman Service, all you want in a heating and air conditioning company, nothing you don't.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Radio. We are not only live from Little Rock as always, but we're live from the River City Comic Expo, downtown Little Rock. Come on down here. It's huge. Lots of people, lots of cosplay, lots of vendors, lots of guests like Gail Simone and Michael Golden. And I got Stuart Berryhill over here. I mean, there's a ton. The Brightwisers are here. There's a ton of artists and vendors and cosplay here. And there's also a ton of comic fans. Now, I've got my buddy Otto Schmidt. He was like, no, don't. I tackled him and I forced the headphone on him. Otto, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's awesome, man.
Are you having fun?
Oh, yeah, it's a blast.
Well, I appreciate you're a huge enthusiastic supporter of the show.
Oh, yeah.
You also are a huge enthusiastic supporter of River City. You're like, dude, you got to go broadcast from River City.
Yeah, I just like bringing all this stuff to Arkansas and let the geeks of Arkansas come out and have a great time.
Have a good time. So what do you think of the expo?
Oh, it's awesome. I'm glad people are bringing out their whole family, not just the adults and stuff, that they realize it's for kids and let the kids
it's family friendly.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking earlier. I haven't seen any cosplay that is like R-rated or anything like that.
No.
So that, which is good, because it can at some events get a little out of control, but it's fine. I mean, there's some good stuff here. It's very creative.
There's a couple families who got their whole family.
Yeah, I saw the Power Ranger family.
Yeah, there's a Daredevil family.
Is there a Daredevil
Dad
family?
was doing Kingpin. It was awesome.
All right, so River City Comic Expo, State House Convention Center, downtown Little Rock. $5 to get in, 12 and under for free if they're with an adult. Otto, man, thanks for jumping on. I appreciate all your support and your enthusiasm. All right, and now we're going to have dun, 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 the 501st Legion, which is a local. How do you refer? You don't refer to yourselves as a cosplay group. How do you refer to yourselves?
We are a worldwide Star Wars costuming group.
Okay.
With over 7,000 members.
Okay.
42 countries.
Well, now I've seen y'all's cosplay more than once, and it looks not cosplay, but your
costumers.
The armor is the word I'm looking for, and it looks great. I mean,
screen accurate.
Yeah.
Members make their own costumes.
And what's neat about the 501st, and it not only does y'all stuff look cool. I've seen you at many events around Little Rock. Y'all do charity.
That's correct.
So what kind of charity do you do?
We work well with Make-A-Wish. We do a lot of children's hospital visits as well.
Do you?
Other than conventions and parades. That's the fun part.
So what's like if we're going to children's hospitals or something like that, do people want to see a stormtrooper? Do they want to see Vader? I mean, what do they want to see?
Everything.
Everything?
Everything.
What do you do?
I do a biker scout.
Do you do a biker scout? I've always liked the biker scout.
The biker scouts, other than crashing into the trees, it's a very comfortable costume.
All right, hold on. Bill, real quick. Bill Brackey. No, you stay with me. What's your favorite stormtrooper armor?
I kind of like the snowtrooper.
Yeah, I was going to say snowtrooper myself. Stuart, what's your favorite stormtrooper armor?
Classic.
Wow, just the straight up. What do you think of the new stuff?
Look a lot like the classic.
A lot like what do you, Tracy? What do you think of the new stormtrooper armor?
I'm on the fence.
You're on the fence?
I'm on the fence. I like it, but the helmet looks like a duck.
Like a duck?
It looks like a duck.
And if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
It's Disney.
Well, but see, if it's a stormtrooper shooting at you, you don't have to duck because they never hit, right? Da-dun-da. Yeah, da-dun-da. All right, Tracy, how can people find out more about 501st?
They can visit the website. It's www.501st.com, 501st.com.
So it's not just for fun. These guys do good for the community.
Yes.
I want to shake your hand on that, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Now I'm going to work Stuart Berryhill in. Now, if you attentive Shane Plays Radio listeners will remember Stuart from last week. He was on also with Mitch and Betty Breitweiser. They are comic book industry professionals, and Stuart is an inker who has worked on Man of God and Winter War and some other projects. Stuart, thanks for saying hi again. I basically gave you head noogies and said, please come back on the radio, and so here you are.
Thank you for having me.
And you said, don't talk about me, talk about the show. So tell me about the show.
It's awesome. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, a lot of cosplay, a lot of professional comic book artists, writers, everything. Old comic books, new comic books, everything is in here.
For the whopping low price of $5. And kids 12 and under get in for free.
Of course.
Yeah, and there's concessions here. Me and Bill Brackeen chowed down a while ago. There's food here. There's stuff to buy. There's cosplay. There's all kinds of vendors. I saw a lot of stuff in there. I'm like, there's
neat stuff.
Yeah, I've got a vendor here holding up. What do you got there? Cybertronian Trader. Go look for, was it Super C's Cybertronian Trading Post. Transformers Best Deals. All right, see, that's what I'm talking about. See, I let that guy get, because that's how you network and get your word out. Look for Super C's Cybertronian Trading Post, just one of the many vendors that's here. He's giving toys away to kids 5 and under today out of the. All right, so if it's a younger kid, maybe half price. 5 and under, he's giving his stuff away for free, and adults full price. Nice to talk to you, Super C's. Nice to talk to you. That's how you advertise, man.
Exactly.
You got to get your word out. So Stuart, obviously. Brent Douglas, who puts this show together, gave you credit last week for being one of the people that kind of helped get all this started. And I've seen you running around like a maniac all day today trying to keep things going. But it looks like things are going pretty smooth.
Yeah, we had a little problem with the line at first. It was kind of slow, but we figured that out. Everything's moving
well,
great.
it's packed. The number one comment that I'm hearing from people are, wow, it's really big.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's the biggest family-friendly party you're going to find in the middle of Arkansas.
All right, man, it's good. All right, Stuart. Well, listen, I asked you last week, but if you want to share again real quick while you're on, do you have any new projects coming out or anything you're working on right now?
Nothing I can really talk about.
Nothing
yet.
you can talk about.
Finish it up first.
But people can still find, and you also, if people can't find them in print, you can go to Comixology and get Man of God and Winter War.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. I really want to get the Winter War. Is what I want to get. So we have some sort of odd cosplay aggression going on in front of the booth right now. Would you define that as odd? Odd cosplay aggression? Not dangerous.
It's just a cosplay.
Yeah, there wasn't anything threatening about it. It was just odd.
Kind of impromptu.
Improv cosplay. We'll call it that. So, hey.
There's been a lot of that. It's fun.
All right. Well, hey, Stuart, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let Josh from Game Goblins jump on. Hey, Bill, I just had Josh from Game Goblins walk up, so I'm gonna let him say hi. We'll get you back on here in a second. All right, so this is Josh Wilhelmi. Am I saying Wilhelmi correctly?
Sort of. It's
sort of.
All right. The I is silent. I don't know if it's
Wilhelm.
because my dad was trolling me his whole life, or if it actually is really silent.
So it's Josh, I don't know. I actually gave the ad earlier, welcomed you as a new sponsor to the show.
Awesome.
But tell us about, one, Game Goblins, and then two, what do you think of the show today?
Oh, well, Game Goblins is, what we have a game store here in Little Rock. We're the only game store in Little Rock.
Well, Bill was bragging on how big it was.
Yeah.
Bill was on early. He said, it's big.
Yeah, we just moved over there a couple months ago.
Right.
We're in a 6,000 square foot location. We've got seating for 168 players and a bunch
168.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely expanded.
We tested it with the grand opening we had
really?
this last weekend. Yeah.
Well, I stopped by the grand opening, and you had a lot of people there, and it looks good. The store looks great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, is anything specific? Now, I told people about the for the Shane Plays discount. If somebody's a new customer and they mention Shane Plays, then they can get $10 off $50 or more.
That's correct.
Now, I mentioned that you have a customer loyalty program, but I didn't go. Would you like to tell people more about how that works?
Sure.
Okay.
Basically, on the back of our business card, we have a little grid with like 10 slots, and so every time you come in, if you spend $35 or more, that's pre-tax or whatnot, we'll write down the amount of your purchase and stamp it. And after 10 purchases, we'll take the average of that, and we'll give you a coupon for the average of your purchases.
See, I like that it's based on what you've spent, not just, hey, you've been here 10 times, so you get like $1 off or something. Right, that's cool. Yeah, so that's a good way to do it. Well, and I know that you have events up to, including but not limited to, tournaments, like official tournaments at your store, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, but not every day is a tournament, but every day is an event, right? There's something going on.
We always have events going on, and we do have quite a few like Magic, Force of Will, Yu-Gi-Oh, and tournaments like for people that like the collectible card games.
Right.
But then we have board game events, and we have meetups for different games. Like we have wargaming nights every Tuesday and Thursday, but you can usually find a game for whatever, or find players for any type of game you're looking for just about any night of the week.
Excellent. Okay, and what would you say, I mean, I'm an RPG guy, which is recurring in popularity, but board games and war games and all that have gone nuts. What would you say, removing Magic the Gathering from the equation, what's the second biggest game you think is going on right now?
Oh, in terms of like board games? I mean, like, or just.
I'd say I'd say, okay, so I'd say board games and then also games like Warhammer. Separate them into two different categories.
So your Magic the Gathering is one of our biggest sellers.
Sure.
And then I would say, this year was actually interesting because board games actually overtook Magic as our number one selling category.
I was like, well, exclude Magic, but when you say board games, I mean, you're talking about like Catan. I mean, what do you mean by board games?
Well, we're talking about everything from like your classic games, which we have a section for that, like your Clue and describe like the very most basic games, and then we carry like the gateway games like Catan and Ticket to Ride.
Gateway games, gateway, which are both fun. Catan is the best game to get people off of just like Parker Brothers, right? Or not that there's anything wrong with those games, but there's a whole other spectrum of cool board games out there, and Catan is usually where you can get people to go, okay, I'll try this other game too, or whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And then we got this puppy in. This is
What is
Code
this?
Names.
Code Names.
Yeah,
Okay.
this sold out at Gen Con. It's basically a you play the role of a spy master versus so it's teams, and one side plays a spy master, the other spy is the basically the spy trying to kill the other spy, and you have this grid of words, and basically what you're trying to do is your partner will say something like snake 3, and that means that you have to find 3 words on that grid of 25 that relate to snake.
Snakes, okay.
And if you pick correctly, then the card's revealed, and you have this little thing, like a map they can see, but you can't.
Right.
And so you're basically trying to find the spies of the other team before they find yours.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun, and we just got this in. I was pretty excited about that.
So is it? So you're pushing that? I mean, is it selling well or?
We just got it in Friday.
Got it in.
This just came in. This was the biggest hit at
Gen Con.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. So
great price point too. $20.
So right now you can this new Code Names, which was the biggest game at Gen Con, is right now in stock at Game Goblins in West Little Rock.
Yep.
All right. Well, Joshua, my next guest just walked up. Thanks so much, not only for being a sponsor, but for coming by. And I want to talk to you. Maybe, we can maybe do some giveaways or something like that in the future. And I'm not saying, hey, give me free games. I'm saying I may buy some stuff off of you.
That's why I brought this by.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you want to give it out today or whatnot, or at another show, feel free. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can do that. I think we've got enough time in the show to do a giveaway.
Sweet.
So thanks so much for bringing that by, and I look forward to getting back over to Game Goblins soon.
Thank you, Shane.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Take care.
All right, Bill, I've got my next, Renee is here. So here's what we're going to do, Bill. We're going to, since we can share the mic, I think we're going to kind of double interview Renee here. Go ahead, Renee. Yeah, absolutely. So we have Renee, and Renee, if I mispronounce your last name, please hit me over the head.
Give it a shot. Give it a shot.
All right. I'm going to say Wittersatter.
That is.
The question. Bill is my you're quote Michael Golden, but you have your own comics in your own right.
Oh.
Capacities. Why don't you
I started in comics helping run, and I started. I was the editor, and then went to Tops, where I worked on Hercules, Xena, X-Files, and a lot of media-related books. That sort of got me into the movie world, because one of the projects that I created at that time was a project with Jackie Chan. And we did a comic book with Jackie. We co-created it with him, Michael Golden and I. And that was sort of a segue into me working in film production full-time. I did that for many years, working with Jackie on movies and commercials, music videos with other creators. And then around 2003, comics sort of pulled me back in, because I always loved comics. And I became an artist agent. And started my own publishing company, my own little publishing company, where I publish art books and art portfolios. The interesting thing to me about all these phases of my career, though, is that they're kind of connected, because they all deal with storytelling. They all deal with organization. They all deal with creating something that is a cohesive unit of entertainment. So I've enjoyed every phase of my career, and in my mind, they're all sort of intertwined and not really that different from one another.
Now, I understand that you've done some work also as a colorist.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
That's like an art form unto itself.
It is.
Yeah, I wanted to say we actually had Betty Breitweiser on last week, and we talked about how incredibly important the colorist thing is to comics. And one of my pet peeves is when they put out these huge bundle collections and they print them in black and white to make them cheaper, but you're missing at least a third of what's supposed to be happening, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The way I became a colorist was kind of funny, because when I started working at Marvel, the pay was very, very low. I had not been living in New York that long. I grew up in Texarkana, Texas. I moved up to New York, started working at DC, then went to Marvel. But the rate that an assistant editor was paid back then was about, close to maybe $20,000 a year. Guess what? It hasn't gone up much in all this time. And so to make ends meet, you had to take freelance work. So I was taught coloring, and I therefore started coloring like lots and lots of comic books. So I'd be an editor by day and a colorist by night. So I'd work till 5, 6, 7, 8 in the office and then go home and color comics all night long. So it was really a dual personality thing going on there. And you get by with not much sleep and lots of... But the interest, I agree with you totally about coloring. And what bugs me a lot about coloring now is that you look at a lot of coloring and it's very muddy and it doesn't propel the story. Coloring is a tool. It's supposed to help make the story clearer. It's supposed to help move the story along. If you have to stop and look and figure out what's going on, then the colorist is not doing their job.
Do you attribute that to the advent of like computer coloration and
that
all the
had a
bells
lot
and whistles?
To do with it. Yeah, that had something to do with it. It's also the fact that no one is really teaching the craft. When I first started, there were people that actually taught us the craft. There was a wonderful man at Marvel Comics called Mark Grunwald.
Yeah, definitely.
Who was one of my mentors and one of my best friends. And he really took all the assistant editors under his wing and taught them editing, taught them coloring, taught them the elements of putting together a good comic book. Because when it's done right, you don't stop and look at all these little individual elements. In your mind, when you're reading a comic, if it's done right, it becomes real.
Well, now, we talked with the... and then, I'll move over to talk about Michael Golden a little bit in a second. But, when we talked with the Brightwisers last week, and Stuart Berryhill was on the show earlier today, he was on last week too, we talked about how, like, the way you do lighting in a movie helps direct.
Absolutely.
Right, and coloring, it can set mood. It can set, hey, you're supposed to be looking here. Here's the flow of things.
Absolutely. So, it's supposed to move it along.
Yeah, critically important. So, like I said, it drives me nuts when I see this huge collection. I'm like, wow, they got all these old, like, Justice Leagues or whatever. And I'm like, look how thick this is. And then I realize it's black and white because they're trying to keep the cost down.
Yeah, the coloring is a character in your story.
Right, agreed.
Yeah, it's an important element of what you're trying to do.
All right, well, we've got just real quick, a couple of minutes. You're here representing Michael Golden, who is, as was put last week by Mitch Brightwiser, one of the most influential comic artists, of the age we're living in. With people, what he's done and what he's influenced. And I see him here today. I didn't get a chance to talk to him. What is Michael like currently working on, or I mean, I know you represent his art. If people want to buy his art, if I understand. Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I have two artists here at the show this weekend. I have, of course, Michael Golden. He's the creator of Rogue from the X-Men.
Right.
Very well known for Spartan X, Bucky O'Hare, the Nom, G.I. Joe. The Micronauts, yes.
The Micronauts, Bill's over there going Micronauts.
Yeah, and most people don't realize that Michael actually created Bug and Marionette, two of the main Micronauts.
Oh, really?
Characters.
Well, I mean, I know them both. Yeah. Bug is the one I remember more clearly,
right.
But I remember them both.
Yeah.
Now, I was doing. I went and looked back through his work after last week's show because we were talking about him.
Right.
And I was like, the Nam or the Nom, and
right.
I loved that book. And it struck me at the time, like, because at that time, I mean, for Marvel to put out a book like, the Nom was huge.
Oh, it was very.
And I remember clearly his artwork and everything in that. So, but so both artists that you're representing today, if somebody's interested in their art, how can they contact you?
Well, sure. I have Konstantin Komardin here, who is an animator visiting from Russia. Very unusual, beautiful artwork. He just showed some of his animation.
And now they're in a panel right now, Michael.
Yeah,
right.
It just ended, and it's beautiful animation. You can look up Konstantin's work on YouTube. And Michael, if anyone's interested in commissions or learning more about what he's doing, he is still working for Marvel. He's doing his own stuff. He's doing covers for The Walking Dead.
Is he? I didn't realize that.
He's done 2 covers so far on The Walking
Wow.
Dead.
I thought that Kirkman did all his own covers.
No, Kirkman's the writer.
The writer, I mean.
Yeah.
Who's the artist on Walking? Anyway, I thought they did their own covers.
Yeah. No, they will go and get other covers by very well-known artists. because Michael's name on a book brings some even more attention to it.
Well, he's an amazing. If people look at what he's worked on, I remember his Iron Man clearly. I mean, his Iron Man was. I love his Iron Man. Well, listen, Renee.
Well, let me tell you real quick.
Go ahead.
If you're interested in knowing more about Michael, you can email me at evaink@aol.com or look up Eva Inc. Artist Group on Facebook.
Give that out again.
evaink@aol.com. Or you can look up our page on Facebook under Eva Inc. Publishing, Eva Inc. Artist Group.
Okay, and you also, do you not have a blog? Did I not see you have a blog?
Yes, I do. It's called Witterstatter Writes.
Okay.
And I talk about all kinds of wonderful nonsense in the comics world and elsewhere.
Great. Renee, thank you so much. Bill and I are going to bring the show to a close, but thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's great talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you. This is one of my favorite parts of doing the show is meeting people and learning about what they do.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Bill, go ahead and jump back on. We got a couple of minutes here. Okay. Renee, have a great show.
Oh, you too, guys.
Yeah, and have a safe trip back to wherever you're headed. All right, we're going to be drawing the show to a close. And we'll give a couple more statistics on comics. I want to mention again that starting next week, Shane Plays Radio will be carried on Krypton Radio, kryptonradio.com, which is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. Now, it is, I'm not leaving 96.5. This is in addition to 96.5 FM and the podcast and the online streaming. And for the moment, it will be pre-recorded on Krypton Radio, but we're working on getting it live. So kryptonradio.com. Make sure to be aware of that. Bill, as the show ends, we're going to give out, we mentioned earlier, what the number one, or what the amount of sales are for 2014 for U.S. sales. I'm going to get to that here in a second, but I wanted to share a couple more statistics. And one was, and this is COMICHRON.com, Comic-Chron for Comic Chronicles. The fewest comic book, or the most comic books ordered in a single month, which was in April 97, was 9,340,000 copies. And the fewest comic books ordered in a single month, which was January 2011, was 4,402,000 copies. So that's more than half down.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's back up since then. The highest dollar volume for comic books ordered in a single month, and this was April 2015, which was this year, which is a good sign for the industry, was 33.72 million. Yeah. And the lowest dollar volume for comic books ordered in a single month was 13 million. That's a pretty big difference, and that was in May of 2001. So, and finally, the statistic we mentioned at the beginning of the show, in 2014, in the U.S., according to comichron.com, the combined industry value for comic books in the United States was $935 million. So not quite, but getting close to $1 billion.
Close to $1 billion.
Now, $100 million of that was digital.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, the combined, that's pretty big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, digital's becoming a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just hop on iTunes and download a comic. Or
Right. And now I prefer, and maybe that's just because the tactile experience is better, or maybe it's because I grew up reading comic books in my hand. I prefer a digital copy. But if I'm on a big tablet or if I'm on a nice computer screen, I don't mind the digital, but I still prefer, I want that,
want the analog comic.
Right. But I mean, digital is, I doubt, not only not going anywhere, but is going to be more and more of where it's going. Finally, people, if you will tweet, the first person that tweets me at Shane Plays, SHANE Plays, Shane Plays, not ShanePlays.com, just tweet me at Shane Plays with the word Codenames, that person will receive a free copy of the Codenames book from Game Goblins, or the Codenames game from GameGoblins.com. You'll get that whether you're local or whether you're listening online. If you're in the U.S., I'll ship it to you out of my own pocket. If you're in the country, you're going to have to help cover the shipping costs. But other than that, if you tweet, the first person that tweets me at Shane Plays with Codenames in the tweet gets a copy of Codenames from Game Goblins. So I think we are drawing to a close. I want to thank you so much for listening. And next week, we're going to have Adam Dayton with the Fragments of Silicon podcast on the show. Don't forget the River City Comic Expo here in Little Rock, downtown Little Rock, $5 to get in, 12 and under for free with an adult. We'll catch you next week on Shane Plays Radio.